The Mirror Temple, Chapter 5. If I was gonna pick any one of the chapters to be my favorite, well, honestly, it would probably be Chapter 3. I really like Chapter 3. I love the inn aesthetics. You got Oshiro, who's a fun character. And overall, the little doubt clouds are really cute. However, Chapter 5, it's a big, meaty chapter, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of interesting things, like mechanics being introduced until the very end, and some of them are, well, let's say very unique to this area. So, this definitely second favorite, if nothing else. It's real good, and besides, it is the Mirror Temple, so I think, you may have a good idea of just what may be coming up, considering how the rest of the mountain has kind of gone thus far. Mirror Temple. Who would build such a thing? It's as if you said, you know what, the mountain's good, but it could be better. Anyway, Gondola's still here in case you needed a... No, I don't think even if you really were that desperate, you'd want to go back through that way. That's... Well, besides, I'm sure the old woman has a different and much safer way to get up here anyway. Yeah, and Mirror isn't kidding. You can see him all over the place, even in the background there, just kind of lining the walls. It's neat. I love this sort of thing. This is a classic tutorial sort of room. And if you'll notice, I mean, not only eyeballs in the background, that's weird, but these platforms are very similar to the sort of stoplight ones from Chapter 1. Yeah, I mean, being the Mirror Temple, you're going to be getting some... let's say, remixing of mechanics along with everything else in here. I like that Madeline's ducking and, well, looking down animation is just her getting all squish face. Good stuff. You know, I said after Chapter 3 that I was going to stop doing the, I'm sure that won't come up later thing, but I just want to point out right now that this is the best time to be able to do that. This is the most opportune moment maybe in this entire playthrough thus far to say that. Well, hope Theo's a fan of Michael Jackson because he's going to be the man in the mirror for a while here. Mirror Temple. Mirrors. Whoo, boy. You can also see the second sort of mechanic that they're introducing here. Well, darkness, but that's not going to be too relevant until a little bit later, at least. Now, red bubbles. It's kind of how you get the remix of the platforms from the first area. You get the remix of the bubbles from the fourth area right there too. Because instead of giving you just a regular old dash, what it does is it will send you all the way to a wall, or, as you can see in this little tutorial area, well, if I did it correctly, what you do is you dash right out of... Come on, man. Show this correctly. Also, is this the most, like, video game looking room? I don't know, something about that pattern exactly. Anyway, you can dash out of the bubbles to also cancel. And that previous room also showed you that the platforms, they move when you dash, so be careful when you're dashing. Similarly here, it's like dashing will get you killed if you try to dash through the platforms. They move very quickly, and they will crush you against the walls even if they're not lined with very menacing looking red spikes there. Jeez. So yeah, you see how I was just about to dash above that platform and it's like, wait. No, I'm learning things. Yeah, you can already tell that another thing that the Mirror Temple takes a lot from is the shrine area. Ooh, there you go. Same sort of momentum deal as the platforms in the first area. Yeah, same sort of momentum deal. Do you not see the very obvious design that Thorson was going for here, past me? But yes, what was I saying here? Yeah, it takes a lot from the shrine area from Chapter 4 there, where there were a bunch of, like, you know, kind of an obvious path you're gonna be going down. You're looking for a key here, and I don't know if you noticed in that big open area, but there was one that is not the way you do that, but hey, whatever works. Obviously, you were supposed to take the bubble down at an angle, then dash out of it. But yes, this being a temple, it's very analogous to the shrine area from the previous level, where you had a very obvious critical path. Here you're supposed to get a key, and then you might have noticed in the big open area that there's a very obvious sort of bubble kind of in the middle of the room. The goals are easy to see. They're easy to get to, you understand. But the thing is, there's a lot of side paths here, a lot of little places to go down. Again, I'm pretty sure that you were supposed to just go down with the bubble, but again, whatever works. Yeah, you go around all the side paths, you go for the strawberries, you're going to be getting a whole lot of knowledge on how exactly everything works here. For example, the platform might not be in the most opportune location when you enter the room there, but as soon as you dash towards it, it will be. And there, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go from the wall where there's a platform in front of there, and by the time you dash, it'll move out of the way. I am very adamant about refusing to learn things, though, as you can probably tell. I mean, to be fair, in the last room, it did work. This game may have some obvious intended paths, but it's also clear that it was designed with the idea that you can also... yeah, there's how you're supposed to do it. Everything gets a reflection, even the strawberries. I love that. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of stupid ducking in this episode. Yeah, this game was designed with some obvious paths in mind. You're supposed to look at the area, kind of judge how everything's set up, and know that everything is designed in a way that you're supposed to use all the parts of the no. You moron, what are you doing? You're supposed to use all the parts of the level to make it work, to make everything kind of function there. But there are also plenty of times where, especially if you know some of the advanced moves of the game, you can really kind of screw around with it a lot to get, like, some pretty weirdo skips. I mean, I've been told that the task thing that I did last time was not actually as tassy as I thought. Well, it was over a, straight up pit of spikes, so I think I did actually manage some kind of frame perfect thing. A little judgment, trying to figure out where I was going. But apparently you can actually kind of... It works a lot like a, forgive me for this again, Super Mario World hack, where you can stand on the edges of, custom blocks, even if they're, instant death. Because the way the custom blocks work, the very edges are still considered normal blocks, and only the middle of it. It has to do with being, very kind to the player, you understand? And it's interesting that sort of thing is in here too, so you can actually kind of jump off the sides, if I understood it correctly. I mean, forgive me if I didn't, but you can actually jump off the sides of spikes, which is kind of neat. It's sort of a maybe intended, maybe not intended. I don't know. Yeah, a little bit more maneuvering around bubbles in that area. And, oh yes, and let me tell you, there are some pretty interesting advanced moves. To find an Easter egg in the next area, I had to do I actually just got done for Chapter 6 doing one of the Easter eggs. Some of the trickiest platforming using the most insane stunts that are still a part of the game that you can possibly imagine. Oh, that'll be a fun one to explain because I had to edit it down so hard. Here's another example of me just absolutely refusing to understand that what this is supposed to be teaching you here is that after you get out of the bubble, you can continue to hold on to the wall. Whatever, that'll be an easy strawberry to get later. And oh boy, let me tell you, there's no shortage of strawberries in here. There's like I said, a lot of mechanics, a lot of side areas, a lot of stuff to look at. Now, come on. I mean, I had the right idea there, you just dash through that, but this is another area. I don't know what was with the Mirror Temple exactly, but this was just a place where I decided, I know I've been thinking logically while playing the video game up until this point, but, I don't need to do that all the time, after all. And you still need a key to get in there. Yeah, those little hexagonal diamond torches do remain lit even after you leave the room, even after you die, after everything, so that... Say, if there is an area with a large amount of darkness, for example, coming up, then you get to kind of have some amount of progress saved. You just need to touch the torches as you walk past them. Also, it's kind of fun to do that. I was honestly expecting when I was doing this to be like, oh, I'm betting that the heart is going to be that you're not supposed to touch any of those torches, and then you get to the end and it's like, oh, here's the heart because you didn't manage to touch any of them. No, thankfully it's so much better than that. Though that is a very video game thing that I think you could have easily put in. I mean, I'm not saying, Thorson, for Celeste 2, Celeste Harder, that you should do that. I'm just saying that a lesser programmer or developer would have. Yeah, that area over there was just to teach you that you don't necessarily have to get anything out of your dashes. Dashing even just into the wall will still activate the platforms. So, you know, that's interesting. Also, another interesting thing is that, well, first off, this is a secret that only opens up another secret. Secrets within secrets. Interesting. Fast strat. Woo. But yeah, little moving enemy type platforms there. Close, but there you go. Yeah, little moving type enemies. I haven't seen those since chapter 3 with the doubt clouds, which moved back and forth. Kind of weird to see them again, and just kind of like floating buzzsaws. How does that correspond to mirrors in any way? I don't get it. But yeah, thankfully they don't appear too much, and they're mostly just a simple. Still, insofar as reuse mechanics, it's kind of weird to see moving obstacles get the spotlight again. I don't know. Yes, being, you know, kind of immobile dashes, you can get a lot out of a single one here. Go up, go down, go everywhere with just the same bubble over and over. So once you actually kind of get it, it's like, no! No! What are you doing? What have you done? Alright, really, it's not too difficult to redo again, but it's like, man. To say I was a little bit demoralized when that happened is putting it lightly. There we go. Not even shoot myself directly in there. But yeah, at some points in time you will have to use a bubble in a way where you want to go in it, go one direction, and then re-go in it, go a different direction. That's it kind of goes with the whole sort of open-endedness of the Mirror Temple here. As you can probably tell, what with the skiing, the music, everything, the darkness that has been only featured in one area, but hey, take a guess what's just about to be coming up. It's like this is a very sort of Metroid-inspired type area, which, considering the amount of Mario references, would not surprise me if Thorson was going full hog with the Nintendo stuff here. You look a little faded. You stop listening to what Roger Daltrey had to say? I already made the Michael Jackson reference. I can't just do that for the entire episode as much as I want to. I swear to God, Theo. Swear to God. Ugh. Things inside the mirror. Probably not a bad idea. I don't remember too many times where you see mirrors and... Yep. And things inside of mirrors, you know, tend to be extremely friendly and good and not terrible. Especially considering how hostile the mountain has been up until this point. Oh, by the way, still got the names here. We are currently in the depths. Oh, fun. You can go fight Man-Eater Mildred, get a sack head, find a bunch of slimes. That is a human skull. Now, look, I know that this is a mountain. It is kind of analogous to a Mount Everest type of thing where you may see some corpses somewhere, but I don't know. I feel like this is a little too tourist friendly and everything to just ignore the fact that that was a freaking human skull. Let me tell you, like the Golden Ridge would not be nearly as nice and pleasant if it was littered with human corpses. I cannot believe that Madeline didn't have anything to say about that. Anywho, oh boy. Well, I also just want to mention real quick. I like the death transition for this area, where it's kind of like a close in on the middle of a bunch of black pillars. It's neat. Yeah, you can see two different types of torches. Yellow torches, which are always lit up, fam, and blue torches, which you have to touch to light up. But like I said, they stay after death. Nope, that was very obvious how that one worked. But yeah, yellow ones you don't have to light up, blue ones you do have to light up, but after you light them up, they're always lit up. And kind of seeing where they are gives you a... I mean, it works with a pretty good try, but not quite. Could have been a fast strat, though. It works insofar as the, I don't know, Half-Life 2 style method, where you want to, everyone's favorite sort of a game design example insofar as showing where light is equals where you're supposed to be going. Here's why I realized that, yeah, I had been playing an hour previous to that, so I was just like, oh, get this strawberry later. Cannot stand to have produce laughing at me for this long. But yep, I realized that I didn't really fully explore that area, so I did save myself a little time here. And this being the second area here, you can already see some of the mechanics that you learned in the first one starting to become a bit more advanced. I mean, there was obviously a very similar sort of room in the first section of the Mirror Temple. I still cannot believe that there's just a skull there. Last time we saw a skeleton, that was in a dream, so that made a certain amount of sense, but I don't know. What did they use this temple for? I mean, aside from praising eyeball and tentacle monsters. Yeah, here is a good example again of using that momentum. It's pretty much similar to an area before, but now made a little bit more advanced, a little bit more interesting, and also lit up by the torches to make it very obvious. Thankfully, you can also see the dash platforms sort of even in the dark like that, so it's at least fairly obvious, and they do have the tracks and everything there too, so nothing's too difficult here. It isn't full-on Blackout Basement like I had mentioned insofar as the trinity of irritating platforming mechanics go, but I don't know, when you look at like this sort of area, you get the feeling that, ooh, creepy. You get the feeling that it is, there is a little bit of that here. It's not fully free from that. Eyeballs and tentacles. I mean, I guess, yeah. That's who I'd associate with the mirror. I feel like you could easily do a very Eldritch vibe. I mean, you know, for whatever reason that something that is a reflective surface can be associated with that sort of thing. You've got to do that little hang platform type deal there to get that one proper. There's the key I'm looking for. Yeah, there is a good question. It's just like, why would you want to amplify? I mean, I can see why you'd want to amplify the mountain's power. It's like, it's power. Why not make it more powerful? But for what reason? Are you trying to get closer to your eldritch gods? Is it human sacrifice? Is it something totally different? Oh, excuse me. I mean, obviously, this mountain has been around, and people have known about it for a long, long time. But this is the only part thus far that I feel like has really tried to exploit the sort of mysterious ghost power that seems to exist here. I wonder if whoever the hell built this temple also built those crazy rolling buzzsaws too, and if so, for what reason? Yep, I saw the little wall there. Thankfully, those bubbles are just bioluminescent enough. I guess that would assume that they were living creatures, but I don't know. Maybe. Just bioluminescent enough that you could see that wall, movable platform type thing. Whatever. I do like that there is that little space right there that says, "Yep, this is where you're supposed to land. Land right here. If you don't land here, you're gonna die." Just that old thing with little triumphs of design. Gee, I wonder if this is the area that I want to go to. It is. And in fact, there's the locked door. And a bubble back, which, you know, again, it's not just the Metroid style, especially sort of original Metroid or Metroid 2 Return of Samus. And not the remake, I'm talking about like the original Game Boy one, which was weird and like nearly a horror game, straight up. Get those sort of vibes from here. You also get the sort of design of a Metroid. Not even close. What's the opposite of nothing but net? But anyway, Yeah, you also get the sort of design here, too, where you get big areas that have a bunch of side paths, and you gotta go find keys and stuff like that, which I guess finding keys is more like a first-person shooter or a horror game. Boy, did I miss a lot of strawberries in that last area. Well, there's always more editing that I can do. Always. Little obvious secret, but then a not so obvious locked cube. Nope, have to come back for that one later, especially because I think this is pretty much the end of the depths as it is, yeah. Not too much left going on here, so where are you gonna find that key? I wonder what's behind there. I bet it's a portrait. Oh no, it's a giant mirror. Who could have seen that coming? This is why you gotta carry around smartphones. You didn't have to go through all this rigmarole if you just flashed it right at the start. Apparently. Hey, backwards music. We are in the Mirror Temple, after all. And so, here's where we get to the second half of the Mirror Temple. With a little friend, which I like to call the Mirror Monster. Cutscene? Cutscene, are we still going? Oh, I have control here. That's the exact line of thought that I had there. Yeah, not so much supposed to be like a secondary character. This is not the Luigi to Madeline's Mario. That would be a change. Well, actually, it's not the Luigi to Madeline's. What were the Maria sisters called? I don't know, whatever. Anyway, yeah, this entire little section, I mean, along with being kind of a cool little separate thing, and the ability to kill your character for no real reason, kind of shows you exactly how the mirror monsters work. They can dash through stuff, they can't dash through those big light pillars, they can move around, they're red when they're attacking, which will obviously come up later when they become an actual enemy now. I wonder if that actually counts as a death or not. Well, yeah, no surprise Badlands here, come on. However, what's the deal with these little tentacles on the wall? Was that entirely necessary? Wasn't it obvious enough? Not to me. God, the B-side version of this room is just absolutely insane. Oh, it just reminds me of that right now. It's like, oh, this one's so easy and nice to get through. Since when did Badland turn to my grandma? Sweetheart? Yes, you know, I gotta kind of agree with Badland here, where it's just like, come on, Badland, come on. Also, interesting thing to note, apparently Madeline's mind is just a chock-a-block full of tentacles. Take that as you will. Also, I gotta tell you, Badland, you know, insofar as creepy stuff goes, aside from the red eyes, Alright, quit running away from me here. We can just have a conversation here. We can just have a conversation without you constantly needing to run away. Well, okay, just because you're not creepy doesn't necessarily mean that you're not a monster. If you told me that this was the vampire version of Madeline, I would also believe you on that point, too. I don't know, at this point I wouldn't really consider it all that much of a mountain that I'm in. But, whatever. So yeah, first two areas, nice and simple. Now we start to get into the real meat of things. It's the same sort of deal. You have these switches that you need to dash into to activate. You got the blocks, you got the bubbles, you got everything. However, obviously things take a little bit of a dip up in difficulty. That's not how dips work, a little bit of a arc up in difficulty. whatever, anyway. But, you know, you also will eventually start seeing those mirror monsters, of course. I mean, you can see a bunch of the statues of them in the background. Which, by the way, the fact that there's a bunch of statues of these things, too, how, you know, specifically related to Madeline could these things possibly be? Whoever built this tentacle, oh, there we go. Yeah, so pretty much they're purple when they're kind of passive, but then they'll move towards you and turn red when they're active and dash at you. Simple enough. Work the exact same way otherwise in Dream 2. And the kind of frustrating thing is now that I know that there are things hidden behind these blocks, I try to get each one of these mirror monsters to hit every single one of these blocks in this section. Eventually I learned pretty quickly that no, it's just the first one, but oh boy was I really... Don't tell me that there's strawberries in there and then not have anything in these next ones. There are also easier ways to break these blocks with these dudes. But for right now, just getting them to dash into them is all I know. They can also activate switches and stuff too. I mean, I guess being a part of Madeline and, you know, having her dashing ability and everything, they do in fact have, there's another way to deal with them. But yeah, they do in fact have the ability to interact with things as well. I don't know, whatever. But yes, you can also give them the old Goomba stomp on their head. They turn to a little cute eyeball bat for a couple seconds and then explode back into being a normal big old mirror monster. And the thing is, while they're doing that animation where they're a little tiny cute bat thing, they will, after they pulse twice, that is an explosion that you can actually use to launch yourself upwards. Yeah, so when like they go back into their normal mirror monster form, that is an explosion you can use to launch yourself upwards. And if you launch yourself into one of the breakable blocks, that will also break them. That's the easier way to break things like that. But it's also frustrating. There you can see one of the mirror monsters activating the switch. Though in general, if you're not trying to get them to hit very specific things for, let's be honest, very little reason at this point, which it takes me a little while to learn, they're not too difficult to deal with because they're pretty consistent. Yeah, I actually had to do a quick cut there because I spent so long trying to get him to destroy this block, again, for very little reason. Yeah, I definitely get the feeling that Thorson thought of the mirror monsters as being a bit more difficult to manage than they actually are, at least to me. Of course, that doesn't mean that I don't die to them a bunch or whatever, but I feel like, especially in B-side, you could do so much more with these dudes and make them so much more menacing. You know, really force you to actually, like, give them the old Goomba stomp and all that sort of stuff. But that doesn't come up as much as I was... Okay, hoping is kind of a rough word there. But that's... you could have done more with them. Like, given fully. By the way, who is this? I mean, it's Madeline, but, like... her super ego? I guess? Hey, thanks for the advice. In response, I shall do the squish face. Fairly obvious. Oh yes, sections. Previous section was called Unraveling. Did you see the part where Madeline said that she was unraveling? That's right, she said the thing. And this one is now called Search, because you're searching for Theo, I guess. I don't know. Ultimately, Unraveling is just a little tutorial to kind of the mirror monster, as well as getting you used to the more advanced tactics with bubbles and whatnot here. Ooh, music change. A lot more threatening. Again, sort of going with that whole Metroid thing. Like I was talking about, this entire chapter is more of an open sort of experience. It's like the Shrine chapter, except the entire thing is like that. And there's a lot of key collection, running back and forth. In general, I'm not a huge fan of doing a lot of running back and forth in games, so Metroid-style stuff I like them, I enjoy them a lot, but I also get kind of frustrated where I can see this area, and I know that I'm going to get into this area, and then sometimes when I actually get the item you need to get into the area, then it's like, well, now I got to go all the way back there. But this is mostly just a hub, and then after you get through the, and then you go into different rooms from the hub, grab all your stuff, do your stuff. That's all you need to do. It's not nearly as bad as some other games that I've had to play where you do have to just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So if you're gonna take something from Metroid, I mean, this is obviously also not a game where you're getting a bunch of upgrades or anything too. There are definitely secrets, but it's more of a challenge than finding a lot of secrets. Though there are a couple of those here too. Not too bad though. And we got Theo. And I'm gonna talk to this lamp here. So, got encased in crystal, eh? Yes, here's why I realized... Hey, wait a second, what's going on with the background music? And I know you hate being trapped in crystal. Yeah, I feel like there's a bit more at stake here than being all like, oh, I'm so embarrassed that you had to see me, Doshio. I'm horrible. I love tentacles. You love eyeballs and crystal. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, the obsession, what with the whole crystal and taking photographs and being immortalized in print and having everybody stare at you. You can see that things are pretty straightforward here. Makes me feel like Theo taking all these selfies and trying to become internet famous is something of a, you know, just a cry for attention. Not like that, but more like a desire for attention. Let's go with that. Yes, and here's where I was really noticing, wait a second, there's something up with this sound. And in fact, there is in fact something up with the sound. So while I go collect a few strawberries here, check this out. I love that little transition back to is the regular old game audio. But anyway, yeah, you think I haven't played enough video games to know when I'm hearing backwards speech? Also, backwards version of the track in the previous parts of the temple. That's neat. Also a good confirmation that Madeline is in fact a grown-ass woman, which, considering her extremely petite frame, I was kind of thinking that she was supposed to be like a teenager or something. Nah. This really looks like there should be something up here. Oh yeah, also, heavy stuff, all that lore. Anywho, should be the first key right here. You could see in that previous area that you need a few keys to actually get much of anywhere. in this part of the level. Although it's kind of hard to see because it is very dark, and you are being hounded by mirror monsters. Oh, come on. Yeah, it's frustrating because the game does have this weird slowdown, and you can see it turns a bit sepia-toned and whatever when you get very near the monsters, so it's a little difficult to jump on their heads. But that sort of slowdown also makes it so if you're gonna go on to the next thing, just dash through it. But it also makes it so it's pretty easy to dodge those dudes, which is pretty nice. So I can appreciate that, if nothing else. The other idea that I had here was maybe just lighting up every single one of these torches will also get me something. Maybe. I don't know. It's worth a shot. And I'll say this, whoever the hell built this temple really did have some good lighting technology here. I don't know why they didn't just have everything be the yellow torches, though. Maybe cost-effective measures. And I know we're building this whole temple to our eldritch gods, but not made of super lights. And there we go. Oh, yes, and also I didn't mention, but in the backward section there, thankfully that stays open when you die. In the backward section there, the rest of the time that's not that dialogue that you just heard is all breathing. So unless you want to get Madeline ASMR, and I'm not here to provide that for you, no, I'm not going to do that. That's pretty much all you're going to get out of the Easter eggy type thing. I mean, it's no surprise that they put something like that in here. It is the Mirror Temple, after all. So backward stuff is to be expected. I mean, I do like all the various theming that they get here insofar as the whole Mirror Temple goes. You get remixed mechanics, you get actual mirror levels. I mean, overall, this even seems like a sort of an alternate game. Like I said, the whole Metroid style, more exploration, more a little bit of backtracking, not too bad. But it's definitely a change up in multiple ways. And I think that after the fourth chapter, that's what in some ways the next two are sort of like, hey, what if the game was different? Or what if we do something different? Because the first 4 chapters, I think, really do exemplify just about everything, as well as, well, what I know about some of the later stuff, too. You get the very traditional sort of Celeste experience, but these ones are a little different in some neat ways. I mean, more of an emphasis on dealing with, actual active enemies. Because as neat as the Doubt Clouds were, they were ultimately just moving hazards that you had to dodge. These things are actual enemies that you can sort of manipulate in some way. It does also change up the game in some ways too, because, jumping on their head, much like jumping on anything else in the game, will refresh your stamina, will refresh your dash, everything like that too. So having too many of these guys around, or trying to create too difficult of a section around them, or trying to create a section around those guys, can be probably pretty difficult, because if you're good enough at manipulating the mirror monsters, you can actually do some pretty tricky dodge. You can do some pretty tricky jumps, pretty tricky dodges, all that sort of stuff with them. They can be more of a boon than an obstacle, which also makes me think that was the other reason why they weren't being used to the maximum extent that they possibly could, because there's too many exploits and it's too weird to try to create a good level around them, at least in the Celeste style. Again, if this was more of a traditional sort of platformer, I would think that if you were taking Mega Man out here, it'd probably be totally fine to deal with these guys. That would, but it's off-brand for Celeste, is what I'm saying. Also, yeah, I was trying to figure out. You can see all those unbreakable platforms around there, and there is a strawberry just kind of hanging out. So how do you get it? I don't know. I mean, obviously I figure out later. Right? This is at least the, total of 175 strawberry runs. So I get it eventually. The other thing here too is that there is an extra key to get. You only actually need to get 2 keys to pass the section proper. Yeah, queuing up dashes before you go through here. Even this late into the level, well, 40 minutes in, this is a long place. I missed the strawberry. How? No, no. How'd this happen twice in one? Oh, whatever. And kill myself there for good measure. But yeah, 40 minutes in, this is a big area. I think that a lot of the optional stuff, a lot of the big spacious hubs and the shrine type areas, it just makes it so that this is big. Of course, at the same time, like I said, all the shrine stuff, unless you're going for a 100% strawberry run, does also make it so it's a bit easier to deal with. In terms of speedrunning, I would think. You just have to figure out what's the fastest key to get, what's the fastest X or Y to X or Y. Because you don't need to go for nearly all these strawberries. I'm just doing so because that's the run, baby. 100%, or at least as close to 100% as I can get it, because like I said, I know about some stuff later on that just I'll show, but I won't probably accomplish because that's it's too much. I mean, I did like that last section. They lit up the area for you, despite the fact that just because they had a mirror monster there. That was a nice kindness of the game. Thanks, Thorson. And here's the first time that you actually have to use the mirror monster to hit the switch, as well as kind of hit him on the head there. Yep, and there's where and that was the first time that I realized, oh, the explosion actually makes it so that it launches you upwards, and obviously restores your dash and everything too. Or actually, I don't know if it restores your dash. Yeah, I teabagged one of the mirror monsters because I trapped it. Obvious, but still a valuable lesson. Look, let's just ignore the fact that I teabagged the mirror monster. All right. Anywho, simple enough. Aside from getting crushed, aside from the lesson in getting crushed there, light always means that's the critical path to go. But because I have had all 2 keys that I needed to get over there, what does the 3rd key get? Maybe the heart? No, it's not. I'll spoil that right now. It's a strawberry. I was actually surprisingly close to figuring out the secret there. And I gave a couple more tries to figure out how to get that strawberry, but nah, it's not happening just yet. I'm gonna go in these big, gross, gooey bubbles. And yeah, there you go. That's what you need the 3rd key for. Get 1,000 more strawberry, and get all up on with this. I don't even actually need to go on that springy platform there. There's nothing you really get out of doing that. I just did it anyway because it's there. Yeah, this could be a difficult section if you have trouble dealing with mirror monsters, but it was okay. Get that momentum going. Yep, momentum's still in the game, still working exactly like it has before, so expect that to be used a lot in B-side. I mean, it's a huge part of the game's mechanics, and I would say the closest thing, a huge part of what you get for advanced mechanics in the game, too. Yeah, here's what I was sort of talking about, where it's like, I don't know, that room kind of felt like it was designed as if the mirror monsters are harder to deal with than they actually are. Maybe just me. Getting them to dash into stuff proper, though, is still kind of annoying. Because that's a pretty tall order. They only dash horizontally, and you can only get so much vertical dashiness on them. And obviously hitting them on the head will lower them a lot, so getting them very high in a level is, well, high on the y-axis is very, it's kind of a tall order in some way. I think grabbing onto that is the best way to do it. There we are. And there you go. Ha! Nailed it. What's this section name now? rescue. Which, I mean, makes sense. Oh, and if you're wondering, no, there isn't any different dialogue if you go to this section from Theo first. I actually did replay through the entire area, blah, 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 and you get no new dialogue, which is kind of disappointing. Well, in her and out herself. I think that's the first time she did that. She ever did that in a cutscene. So, in fact, that dashing ability is canon now. Because you could make an argument to say that the dashing is something that's only happening, you know, in the sections of the game which are maybe more of a fanciful take on what's actually happening in the story. But it's like, nah, she can actually dash in real life. Presumably this is all canon that's happening, except for the death parts. You just cut out all the deaths, but I don't know. Story in this game is weird. Yep. And yep. Yeah, I know, she's called her Gumbercules before. Not only extremely athletic, also extremely strong, which, again, for a very... and bioluminescent, considering the earlier part, too. It's, again, why is she drawn so petite? Oh, you'd think she looked like She-Hulk in most of the ending cutscenes, considering this. Well, anyway, Theo works pretty much exactly like you. He can activate switches. He can activate, you know, he can activate switches. He can activate the circle emblem things that left platforms and whatever. Obviously, if you throw him at switches, that also works. He is totally invincible inside that crystal unless he hits a bottomless pit. So you can throw him at monsters to kind of deflect them a little bit. He also has momentum, so that if you throw him on top of like a moving platform, he will kind of fall off a little. He will kind of jump off at the end of it, for example. I think he also gets pushed around by, like, the explosion of the monsters, the mirror monsters, if you try that. Yeah, if you're trying to go fast, you would go throw Theo at that. One of the things I didn't realize for a really long time is that you can still wall jump while holding Theo. You cannot climb, but you can wall jump, which would have been very helpful. Also, when you're picking up Theo, you get a bit of a... Yeah, almost lost in there. You get a bit of, like, hang time, so that you can actually kind of get sort of an extra jump if you pick him up at the same time that you're throwing him. It's really weird to pull off, but considering that I didn't know that you could wall jump when you're holding him, which, again, very important, especially in the B-side. And that's when I figured it out. Yeah, thanks, Theo. I mean, yeah, you're doing good for moral support before, at the very least. Yeah, getting him to do that weird thing with, yeah, getting him to do that, getting kind of an extra jump by picking him up was the best way to do that. And if you chain together, you can kind of jump pretty high. That is not the intended way to do some of the B-side stuff, though. Oh, yes, Theo does appear in the B-side. I mean, no surprise, but hey. Like Oshiro appeared in the B-side of Chapter 3, so come on. It's all a bunch of weird garbled mess, that B-side. And sick jump. Sick dunk. There's my strawberry. I do like having a little side commentary here. It's nice to be able to have a co-commentator in the video. Although somehow I get the feeling that Theo would be more interested in playing, like, walking simulators or something. Hey, sure you haven't played Gone Home? That game's great. Yeah, there's that momentum that I was talking about there. A little difficult to get him out, though. You could also probably launch him and then grab him in midair. It is an entirely possible thing to do, so... Okay. But here's another good example of that. Well, provided that I don't get killed by the mirror monsters. Yeah, dash and he goes just flying there. And even when it's, hey, nice. And even when it's, going backwards, that was a good dunk too. No. Yeah, even when the platform's going backwards, going slower like that, it does also have just a little bit of momentum. But it's like tiny baby throw of the crystal compared to the major one. There. Yep! You can actually kill the mirror monsters. I knew I had to keep that in here as soon as I saw that happen. It has its own, like, unique pink color when it dies, too. Dies otherwise in the same way as Madeline, which is not surprising, but interesting. I mean, I think, like, pretty much everything does. If you throw Theo into a pit, sometimes he'll explode into a bunch of green particles instead of blue or red like Madeline does. There you go. And there, you can see the tiny little baby hop. And there, and nope, close. But yeah, I said that you can't actually kill any of the enemies or obstacles or whatever in the game. I suppose you could count the snowballs in that, but come on. But hey, you can kill a mirror monster. Not that it's all that useful or like there's much point to it. You can totally do it. Surprisingly enough, another thing that doesn't actually get used in the B-side, but at the same time, what would that do for you? You know, there aren't kill rooms in Celeste. That would be ridiculous. Yeah, I'll be fine. But yeah, there aren't kill rooms where it's like, oh, you need to kill all of the enemies to, you know, successfully get through here. But, I mean, maybe there could have been something like that for B-side. That would be weird. Maybe B-side would end with you just, like, killing 5 of these things at once. I don't know, I feel like that's also a little morbid for the game, too. But the fact that that's in the game is kind of crazy. I don't know if it's supposed to be like an Easter egg or something, but I feel happy getting it. Anyway, yeah, you can see the actual, the mirror monster hitting the switch there instead of me, which, again, it's part of Madeline, has all of the same abilities as her. That's cool. He wasn't kidding about that just a little further. Mm-hmm. Now, how exactly did that help Theo overcome his obsession with getting noticed? I don't know, but it did. I like that you can see the bubbles in the background there. That's fun. Missed 10 strawberries. Hoo boy. I don't know, I'll get to you next time. Reflection. I mean, you would think that after the Mirror Temple you would have more than enough reflection for a lifetime, but whatever. I guess we can do that literally and figuratively. I mean, again, I'd just like to point out that this is a game where you are climbing a mountain to try to get over your issues. Which, speaking of which, I don't really know. And obviously, Madeline has problems with anxiety or depression or both or whatever. I don't think that there's ever any actual sort of specific reason as to why she would want to climb this mountain. I mean, you don't really need one. Usually my reasons for that are I'm unemployed. That's when I do things like lose 30 pounds in 2 months and start a YouTube channel. Learn Japanese. But if I was going to take a guess, I think that at the end of Chapter 2, there was that mysterious character that she was calling on the payphone, or was calling her on the payphone. That, you know, she seemed to have some familiarity with, but hadn't talked to for months on end. If I was going to take a guess as to what, like, the plot of this game would be, I want to say Madeline probably had a bad breakup. And you know, after being depressed for a while, she decided that, you know, she was going to try to conquer this mountain to sort of get over that. At least that's sort of what I was thinking. I don't know. I mean, it's all open to interpretation after all. Hey, Scully. Hey, Murray. How you doing? Whole bunch of strawberries to get in here. As well as the B-side tape, which I somehow entirely missed. Usually I'm pretty good about I'm pretty good about finding those in all the other chapters. Like, this was the only one, and I guess the first chapter, but that was the first chapter. I mean, cut me some slack here. Also, yeah, there was a little bit of extra mountain scaling at the very start of this area that I probably should have done. I mean, for all the fear of falling off of that gondola or something at the start. No issue jumping off the cliff and rescaling it again. Scaled that thing like a freshly caught fish. Not a bad attempt, but I think that all you're really supposed to do is just do a little hop over the middle there. And then just dash into one of the bubbles. Or maybe dash up through diagonally. I don't actually remember this section all that well. And considering how long I'm waiting here, kind of scoping it out, I apparently didn't have much idea of what to do of what to do here right now either. Yeah, there you go. Because a single tile with some crystals on there is not that big of something to accomplish here. There we are. Strawberried up. Big area, a lot more to explore, and yeah, there's something that makes it a little bit more difficult to find the alcoves in these areas, as well telegraphed as the sections tend to be. It's oh yes, there's where I noticed. Oh, what's all this then? Yeah, having it be dark is much more difficult. Yes, the thing to note here is that means that you don't need to use that key on that section, so that you can preserve your key for that mysterious key cube that comes later on. And the cubes are the key to our past and our future. Wow, if anybody gets that reference, I don't even know anymore. Talk about Cube 2 Hypercube. Now that's a cube. I remember I just saw that movie on Sci-Fi Network at one point, and I'm like, I guess I'm gonna watch this. And boy is Cube 2 Hypercube a trip. Anyway, Mirror Temple. Yeah, compared to the really nice golden color and purple color of the last area, you get a lot of grays, you get a lot of reds here. Everything's sort of metallic and threatening, evil vines in the background, and a lot of eldritch statues all over the place. Hey, if it ain't my old friend. Kind of surprising that I didn't go back here during the main playthrough, but hey, what are you gonna do? But yeah, it definitely creates a very neat sort of mood. I like it a lot. I mean, I'm just thematically, I think the Mirror Temple is one of the cooler ones. It really does make you wonder, like, was this used for good or evil, the Mirror Temple here? Because I cannot imagine many people coming here to pray or whatever. Maybe it's a temple in the Zelda sense, where, you know, each one of the temples, for example, in like Ocarina of Time, had their own actual obvious usages. Like, I think the Forest Temple was like a giant mansion or something. They're not literally all places for you to go, well, pray. Something to think about. Also, you know, you get that bright red in there, which is Madeline's color, and blue from like the lights, as well as the red from the. I mean, reds and blues are generally a pretty big thing in this game, obviously because the main character is. And you do see that a lot in this section here, which might be another reflection of Madeline herself. Maybe one of her major contributions to the Mirror Temple here is the fact that she's the one adding in all these spikes as well. Yeah, hurry it up here. And this time, see what that mysterious cube offers me. And try to get through this section without dying 50 times. It's not even that difficult. It's funny when I'm going back and watching some of these, it's like, how did I even manage to do the B-sides of these things sometimes? Silly. Some more momentum shenanigans and a lot of darkness shenanigans here. Yeah, the annoying thing is that even when they're going backwards, they still have the momentum properties, so you kind of have to make sure that you're watching out for that. It's the exact same sort of thing with the Chapter 1 stuff, but it's still is worthwhile to remember. But yes, this little mysterious section over here. What's to be found? Yeah, actually, not too bad of a heart. I was really thinking that it was going to be much more difficult, because otherwise I had absolutely no idea where to find this thing. I really lucked into it by figuring out that there was the alternate exit where you didn't have to use that key there. Alright, back to this little section again. And then clearly a few more things that I didn't look at nearly close enough. And also, yeah, there's no real other use for that bubble, so of course it's going to go in there. Yeah, try again. There you are. And that's how you get in that section. Another little area where you need to kind of ration out your dashes well enough and kind of figure out where things are going to be going before you start here. Obviously, viewfinders mostly not appearing in this area because the darkness makes them a little bit less useful than they could possibly be. So it's no surprise that you're not able to look around too much, despite the fact that these areas are huge. Yeah, pretty basic platforming, but at the same time here, it tripped me up a little bit, so I'll give them that. Strawberry there, and some strawberry seeds down below, so we got another one of those going on. And honestly, one of the easier ones in the game. There's another one of those skulls. It's so weird that there's just, like, corpses in here. Why? Yep. Oh, I guess there was actually a viewfinder that appeared in here. Wow, I totally forgot that until this very point. I mean, I guess there's usually one in the Beat Block Galaxy type sections because these ones are, maybe a little difficult to deal with otherwise. I like lo-fi version of this song. Reminds me a lot of Super Meat Boy again. I mean, no surprise. I would say that there is probably a lot of influence there in some of the designs here. Though, again, Thorson was working on these sort of games way before even Eggman McMuffin was doing the same sort of thing. Yep. I'm ready. And by ready, I mean I've already done it, and it's been recorded and edited, so I don't have to worry about it. All I need to do is talk about it. And, yep. And then, momentum. Really, really simple one. Barely even need to think about that. Doop. And I think that's all of them, yeah. That's every strawberry. Oh boy, they really start packing on the strawberries when you get into the later game. They're become like 31. I think there was only maybe less than 20 in the first section. Woof, woofa doofa. All right, y'all ready? Too mellow. And indeed, this is a pretty good B-side track. Probably my second favorite after Good Karma, the third chapter B-side one. Takes the menacing Mirror Temple theme and makes it a lot more jazzy. Close. But yeah, hope you've been practicing the dashes out of the bubbles here because, oh boy. Really not as bad as it could possibly be, but man, is that threatening. I'm again talking about Super Meat Boy. That is a very Super Meat Boy sort of level design we got going on here with the gigantic mega spike type stuff. And like I said, yeah, of course it's gonna be momentum. Like all of the advanced momentum sort of moves in this are all about, you know, getting you used to having momentum work for or against you. Usually for. Anyway, names. What do we got here? Start, obviously, but now I am in the central chamber, which is analogous to the depths. The depths. I mean, no surprise, but... yeah, and you can see with a key, there is even a little bit of a sort of hub section type deal going on here as well. A lot more straightforward, though, because, hey, this is going to be rough. I mean, all the B-sides are going to be rough, but this one is no exception. Let's just go with that. Oh, love these. One of the standard sort of challenges of the game is figuring out how to hit all of these emblems at the same well, you know, without dying, I suppose is the way you put it. Yeah, and I did actually realize that I would have died if I dashed there. Which is good, because that could have been very bad. And yes, you do need to collect every one of the keys. There's no optional key stuff here. To advance through anything, you need to use the keys. Oh man, look at this. Time them dashes. I mean, one of the things that I found when I'm playing the game is that what you want to do is you want to look at the area that... you want to look at the area where you want to do the dash. Like, not stare at Madeline and stare at her, you know, on her amazing journey through these weird jelly blobs that exist in this temple for some reason. But, like, stare at the area that you want to dash out of. And then as soon as you see Madeline get into that section, that's when you... you know, you make your twitch motion. You get out of there and get in. Because it is... I don't know why. It's just... it's so much harder to follow a moving object with your eyes than wait for a moving object to get into your field of view, and then... oh, so close. Wait for a moving object to get into your field of view, and then react. Of course, you know, that's one of those video game things. Doc teaches you how to play video game. Whatever. I think it makes for some decent commentary type stuff. My entire philosophy for the commentary is that I want to kind of show every single part that's going on here and not just have like pretty basic sort of reactions to everything. As fun as that is for like live commentary. It's like I want to be able to show everything but also not have it take a million years to get through a section like this. Which usually did take me like upwards of 2 hours to beat everything, and usually in multiple, or I would do them in multiple sittings or something. Oof, what a cruel trick to play. But at the same time, an obvious one. It's like you knew it was coming when you dashed here. Ugh. I got it though. And then yeah, you need to get the similar sort of momentum dash when you get to the second platform. And kablamzo. Rough. And of course you're gonna have a good friend, the buzzsaws coming through here. As always, one of the important things to know about the buzzsaws is that these things are created in a way that you're supposed to get through them on their first cycle. So that if you go immediately, you're more likely to get through there than if you spend any time waiting at all. That's how you get the cycle off balance, and then it becomes a bit harder. It's a weird thing, but especially in these sort of very, very difficult, twitchy sort of platformer type games, going faster can oftentimes be easier than going slower and then try to react to things on the fly. You go on instinct. You figure it out as you go, and then over time you get it. I mean, it especially comes up in a later part that I am tackling right now. I've gotten pretty deep into the game at this point, let me tell you. Shouldn't be too much to record, just a lot of commentary to do. Especially if everything's gonna be an hour and 20 minutes like this video. I do it because I love it. And to be honest, this game has just been, like, absolute ace. And... Not, you crashing? You're crashing? You're crashing. Okay. Yeah, that's, Da Vinci for you. Every time. Mark it off on your bingo card. Things crash when I'm trying to do commentary. Anywho, pretty simple section here, so not too bad. Not too bad to lose commentary for that. Yes, I was saying, it's like, yeah, this game has just been fantastic so far. I would say that it's not often that I try to go for a lot of the secrets, and I do like doing completion, but there's also a decent amount of like Easter eggs and oddities and weird stuff, and some of them are just going to be too difficult for me to do, unfortunately. But I am probably going to at least make an effort. I've been having that much fun with this game so far. That is such a rough climb. I hate doing that jump over platform thing. I mean, even though, you know, you gotta. Was that not the most incorrect thing that I could have possibly done? Perhaps. Anyway, try that here. Oh, come on. Just gotta dash against the platform is the thing. I mean, just because it's moving doesn't mean that you can't get a good grip on it or anything. And that's a kind of frustrating thing that, you know that, but at the same time, I'm still screwed up. I mean, I can also just do a regular old wall jump too. That's not that difficult either. All right, get in there, cube. Explode into purple dust. I mean, I guess maybe it's not a real cube. Maybe it's a sort of fake cube like Battling, where it has the purple aesthetic with it. I don't know. Also, I do like Battling's aesthetic, purple, when your aesthetic is red and blue. It's thematically appropriate. Simple sort of jump here, still screwing it up. And you don't even need to do a jump on top of that or anything. You can just walk on top of the spring and it will spring just the same. But the other thing too is that after you jump once, you gotta remember you can't jump again because it won't work. Frustrating. It should be pretty obvious what to do from this point. Drop right down that bubble, go right back up. Easy. Ah, God, I love the music in this section. It's great. Yep. Even when I saw that, I'm just like, it's so clearly planned out perfectly like that. I love it. I love being able to see that, yep, that's where you're going. Even in the B-side, you cannot get away from it. So yeah, pretty simple. All you gotta do is just get around these whirligig saws and then make a little bit of a tricky single tile dash up there, but then you're home free. You don't need to go around any crazy amount of spikes or saws to be able to get to the actual torches to light up, thankfully. Whew. This is also another one of those sections where you want to go speedrun and go as fast as possible because that's how everything's timed. That is like the optimal way things are timed for the speedrunners, but also for anybody that just wants to go fast. I mean, you don't need to be a speedrunner to go fast, let's just say that. Damn. I do like that despite the fact that they are saws, they will still stop what they're doing, as if they are also the doubt clouds that are surprised that they hit you in the first place. You're like, hey, what, did I hit something? So close there. I managed it. And there we go. And, ugh. That's such a rough one to get, but when you do get it, it's... I mean, it seems like it should be easier than it actually is. As usual. Same exact cutscene, too. Well, you didn't learn this from A-side? Also, the frame of the mirror looks a lot like one of those dialogue frames that the characters talk with. No. Oh, come on. No mirror monster section? That's a little disappointing. Name. I got this. It's called Through the Mirror. It is the... yeah. I told you this part was rough. The B-side version of this area. A lot of tentacles. Also starting to sound a lot more like a Castlevania theme when you speed up 2 Mellow's track. Through the Mirror, a flip side of Unraveling, or maybe Search? I would probably say Unraveling, because this is very clearly analogous to the big drop that you would do in the start of Unraveling. Otherwise, just watching this even is frustrating me. It's so many one-tile jumps you have to make in very, very specific sort of dashes that you also need to accomplish. You gotta hit all of those. Gotta hit all of those switches. You gotta hit all those crystals at the same time. And often what I'll do is I'll accidentally grab onto the side of that first switch instead of hitting it, which is frustrating, to say the least. And it's really hard to recover from that, even though I do a couple times. Oof. Through the looking glass, people. That's what it means, that's what it is. Alright. Yeah, no beating around the bush. This is, in fact, a successful one. It's just such little spaces you need to hit. I know you could probably get used to it. Yeah, nice try. I know you could probably get used to it pretty easily, but oh, man. Oh, man. Yep, place where you actually need to use the jumping on the head of the monster. Not that that's very difficult, because when they hit against the wall, there's a pretty clear stopping point where you can stomp on their heads. So, it's another one of those cooldown sections that the B-side mercifully gives you. Even though, again, after doing that whole deal, I was so psyched out that it was still very difficult regardless. Get them shaky hands. Well, maybe not shaky hands, but more like the adrenaline is pumping so hard after completing that you're just like, I don't have the patience to do this right. Didn't take too many tries, though, at least. Like I said, I think it's either that, you know, Thorson made the executive decision to not actually try to make these sections too difficult, or it was just found that it's the mirror monsters are too exploitable to, you know, really make a challenging section out of. Which I would probably, if I just jumped on the mirror monster, that probably would have been easy. Yeah, just too exploitable. Too easy to continuously get your dash back and jump by jumping on their heads and all that sort of stuff. So that it's hard to just make a difficult section, regardless of how much time and effort you put into it. And obviously, even though you can kill them, it's like, how are you going to design something around the fact that you want to kill the mirror monsters? If anything, having them around might make some sections easier, as I was saying. I don't know. Yeah, needless to say, after doing the first part of Through the Mirror, I needed a break. And there we... Oh, come on, so close. If I got the correct jump on his head there, it would have been easy. And there we are. Close, but I was kind of hoping that you were going to do the dash towards me, which is your entire MO, Mirror Man. Yeah, there is where I learned that, if you get pushed by their explosion, that will also destroy the block there. Would have been useful to know in the first section, to say the least. Well, in the A side. Some pretty basic mirror monster dodging, still utterly failing it though for some reason, despite the fact that that's really all you need to do. And then this is probably the one time that you are really forced to, well, when you're not up against the wall, jump on top of one of the mirror monsters. That was pretty cool though. Time it correctly. So yeah, Through the Mirror, pretty short section, but with just one brutal start. And then Theo, hanging out. Your boy Mixmaster Theo. And indeed, this section is called Mixmaster, analogous to Rescue. Funky name. But hey, funky character. Yeah, it's not so much the starting section, it's this part that I had so very much trouble with. And I'm sure you can probably guess why. I mean, simply put, it's because I did not realize that you could wall jump, just not wall climb with Theo. Because I always wall climbed instead of wall jumping, like, ever, so... What I tried to do was I tried to get this weird thing where I got the explosion from the regenerating mirror monster to push me up to then toss him over the column and then just do regular jumping from that point. I was weird and entirely bullheadedly misguided. But I can't say that I didn't try it. I mean, you are seeing the fruits of those labors right now. Did die a lot in this first area, but it's really not too difficult. You just need to leap up on that spring, throw him over, there you go. It's just that part that I was having trouble with. And again, all you gotta do is just do wall jumps against there. It's the easiest thing, but I never do wall jumps. What do I look like, Mario? Again, great Gianna sisters. That's clearly the closer sort of reference you can make here. And they're even red-haired. Red-haired. I suppose Mario has a red hat, which is not dissimilar. And then here's where that hang time comes in. Yep, so I did it entirely wrong. This isn't canon. God, I hope not. That would be pretty difficult to explain. Like, oh yeah, after leaving this temple where I very nearly got murdered by mirror monsters, spikes, endless amount of tentacles, I immediately went back inside, and for some reason it was a lot harder. And then when I got to the last part here, for some reason Theo was just kind of trapped in the crystal again. I mean, it wasn't even like a pedestal this time. He was just sitting there, trapped in the crystal. And when I asked him why, he just shrugged. That would be a little hard to reconcile with what we've known of the story to this point. A lot of little miniature sections where you gotta deal with a mirror monster in some way. Theo, again, being mercifully invincible, you can just throw him right through those. Doesn't even matter. Don't even phase him. I mean, I would be pretty phased, to say the least, but Theo, he is an easygoing guy. He takes being trapped inside of negative psychic energy crystals very well. Yeah, again, that thing with the hang time being important. Oh, and there you actually got to see Theo's death animation, where he turns into little green particles in the same way you turn to red or blue, similarly. Yeah, how are you gonna get through here? That was honestly kind of I gotta tell you, a little bit of an amazing stunt by me, despite the fact that it's really not the way you're supposed to do it. Learning to fly. Yeah, and here's where and I think that may have actually been the first time that I realized, holy crap, you can do wall jumps with him. Well, I still got it on camera, so whatever, it counts. No, sit here. Oh boy. It's actually not nearly as bad as Theo's making it. Of course, having that sort of comment there, hearing that was just like, well, one might as well scout it out first to see what's going on. Alright, doesn't seem too bad. All you gotta do is make sure that you catch him as soon as... Oh, he makes those fall. Alright, that's a little bit of a wrinkle in the plan, but it's still not too bad. Again, the speedrunning tactic where if you rush it, it's not... Things are planned for it to be like this. Yeah, he's supposed to throw it, dash forward. Throw him on there. Don't actually totally miss that. Throw him on there, throw forward, catch him then, dash forward, catch him, dash forward, catch him, dash forward. Simple. Not easy, but simple. Again, another little scouting mission here. But as you would expect, yes, you do in fact bring Theo here. I mean, what, do you think you were going to get away from that quickly? Alright, come on, you rock tumbler. I guess she dies of the grief. Also, it would be literally impossible to progress on, but what are you gonna do? You're climbing a mountain, you know the risks. And as usual with a little B-side end sections doing the B-Block Galaxy deal, it's not too bad. It's a bit easier than that final sort of section, so close, but no. At least it's very obvious what you're supposed to do, you know? And there. And of course, if he has all the same properties as you, yep. And he doesn't even get to be in the ending. Sorry, Theo. Maybe next time. Still, it is fun being able to collect it with him. B-side of the Mirror Temple. Not the worst one, certainly, but oof, did have some rough sections, especially the first part of Through the Mirror. Would not like to do that one again. But anyway, that leaves, Reflection next. Hoo boy, that one starts out with a pretty big cutscene, which will be a fun one, to say the least.